I honestly can't even process it. Dax quit just like that. Sent a two-line email to HR, didn't even have the guts to talk to me and was gone. For what? For his little passion project. Can you even believe that? I mean, after everything I did for him, everything, I took him under my wing when he was basically a kid, you know. Fresh out of college, couldn't even format a professional email properly. I taught him how to talk in a meeting without sounding like a clueless intern. I saved his ass on the Q3 projections, remember that? I gave him the playbook, the real one. And this is the thanks I get? He throws away a real career path, a future I basically mapped out for him for some app for local artists to like, share their vibes or whatever. It's a joke, it's not even a business, it's a nonprofit with zero funding. And the nerve of him, the absolute nerve. In his exit interview with Janice, he apparently said my mentorship had become stifling. Stifling. God, am I crazy here? I was trying to save him from himself. I was the only one being honest with him, telling him he was heading for a cliff. And he calls that stifling. What would you do? Honestly, it's not just stupid, it's a slap in the face. It's like he's saying my entire career, my entire experience means nothing. It's just plain insulting, right? God, it's crazy when you think about where he started. I remember his first day, clear as anything. He walked in wearing a suit that was like 2 sizes too big, holding a briefcase like it was 1995 or something. He had this wide-eyed, terrified puppy look. You know the one? Eager to please, but absolutely clueless about the real world. I literally had to dive across his desk once to stop him from hitting send on an email to the entire leadership team that had our biggest client's name spelled wrong. A well-meaning, smart mess, but a mess nonetheless. And he looked at me like I had all the answers. I mean, literally. In his first team meeting, he just stared at me the whole time, nodding at everything I said. It was kind of endearing, honestly. I saw potential in him, you know. He had good instincts, but no idea how to channel them. He was a lump of clay, and I figured I could mold him into something impressive. So I did, I took him under my wing. We'd grab coffee every morning, and I'd break down the office politics for him, who to trust, who to watch out for, whose emails you always answer within 5 minutes. I'd take his clunky, academic-sounding reports and we'd go through them line by line. Cut the fat, Dax, I used to say. This sentence is weak. It sounds like you're asking for permission. State it like a fact. He'd just soak it all up, looking at my edits with this incredible reverence. Wow, Aurora, that's so much better. How do you do that? It felt good, you know. To have someone who actually listened, who respected my experience. He wasn't just a colleague, he was my project, my protege. We landed the Henderson account together, mostly because I prepped him for weeks on exactly what to say and what not to say. I got the big bonus, obviously, but I made sure everyone knew Dax was my right-hand man. We were a team. I'd give him the strategy and he'd execute it flawlessly. He was grateful. He was learning. For that first year, it was perfect. He was on the fast track and everyone knew it was because of me. That was the Dax I knew, the one who understood the deal. I have no idea who this person is now, the one who threw all that away. The first time I saw the crack, the first sign of this other Dax was about 6 months ago. He asked me to stay late one night, said he had something he was really excited to show me. He was talking a mile a minute, practically buzzing. I thought it was a new proposal for the Miller account, something to really blow them away. I was already thinking about how I'd help him refine it, make it bulletproof. But then he pulls out his personal laptop and opens this app. It looked like a student project. The interface was clunky, the colors were all wrong. He called it Art Hub. He started clicking through screens, showing me a community spotlight and a forum for artists to share techniques. All fluff, no substance. He explained with this ridiculously earnest expression that it was a space for local artists, painters, musicians, whatever, to connect, find gallery space, and maybe sell their work without the huge commissions. He was so proud of it, you know, like a kid showing you a macaroni necklace he made, and honestly, my stomach just dropped. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Because I've been there, before I got into corporate strategy, I tried to launch a boutique marketing firm focused on nonprofits. I poured my heart, my savings, everything into it. And it failed, miserably. I remember the feeling of turning the key in the lock for the last time, the absolute crushing shame. It almost broke me. I learned the hard way that passion doesn't pay the bills. The world chews up and spits out people with nice little ideas like that, and I saw that same naive spark in him. So when he looked at me with those big, hopeful eyes, waiting for my approval, I couldn't just lie to him. That would be letting him walk right off the same cliff I did. The monetization strategy is non-existent, I said. He blinked. What? A community doesn't pay server costs, Dax. Vibes don't impress investors, I told him, maybe a little too sharply. I grabbed his mouse, I think without even asking. Look, if you integrated a payment processor, a tiered subscription model for premium gallery space, maybe targeted high-end craft fairs for initial user acquisition, you could pivot this into something viable. I started sketching a flowchart on his notepad. He just stared at the screen, at my hand on his mouse. The light in his eyes just went out. He slowly pulled his hand back and gently closed the laptop. He mumbled something like, "Oh, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that part yet." He was just confused, he didn't get it. He didn't see that I was giving him a lifeline. I was saving him from the inevitable heartbreak. I was trying to turn his little macaroni necklace into something that could actually be worth something. For his own good, after that night, it was like a switch flipped in my head. I saw it as my duty, my responsibility to get him off this disastrous path. He was too close to it, too emotionally invested to see the train wreck coming. He was my protege, and I wasn't going to let him ruin the future I was building for him. It started small. He'd mentioned some new feature he was excited about for Art Hub, like a calendar for local gallery openings. And I'd just laugh, but in a friendly way. Like Dax, that's adorable. Meanwhile, in the real world, the quarterly reports are due Friday. Focus on what pays the bills, man. I thought the gentle ribbing, the public course correction would work. He'd get the hint, but he didn't. He was stubborn. He started getting quiet, secretive. He'd minimize his screen whenever I walked by, so I had to escalate, for his own good, obviously. We were in a team brainstorming session for a new client, and our boss asked for some out-of-the-box ideas. Dax, bless his heart, started talking about building a brand community and fostering authentic engagement, all that soft, fluffy nonsense from his stupid app. I could see our boss, a numbers guy, starting to glaze over. I had to intervene before he embarrassed himself and, by extension, me. Or, I cut in with a big smile, we could go with a strategy that actually generates revenue. I turned to Dax, making sure everyone was watching. No offense, Dax, but we're not running a knitting circle here. Let's leave the community art projects for the weekend, huh? A few people chuckled nervously. Dax's face went completely red. He didn't say another word for the rest of the meeting. See, it worked. It was a tough lesson, but a necessary one. You can't be sentimental in this business. The final straw was when I found out he was actually spending his own money on this thing. I saw a receipt on his desk for some server hosting service. It wasn't cheap. I was furious. He was throwing good money after bad, so I did what any good mentor would do. I found his project plan, he'd foolishly left it on our shared drive, and I stayed up half the night rewriting the whole thing. I turned it into a proper pitch deck. I ripped out all the community crap and replaced it with a solid beat-woe billion strategy, targeting corporate clients for art rentals. It was brilliant, it was a real viable business. Then I scheduled a meeting for him with Robert Sterling. Sterling is a venture capitalist I know, a real shark. My thinking was, Sterling would tear Dax's original idea to shreds so thoroughly that he'd have no choice, but to see the light and adopt my, better plan. I was setting him up to succeed, even if it hurt a little first. I printed out my revised deck, walked over to his desk, and dropped it in front of him. Meeting with Sterling Friday at 10. This is your new pitch. Don't thank me now, thank me when you're not bankrupt. He just stood there, holding the printout like it was contaminated. He looked completely lost, and I just thought, good, he's finally starting to get it. So the meeting with Sterling never happened. Dax canceled it without telling me. I only found out when Sterling's assistant called me, annoyed, asking where my boy was. I was mortified. I stormed over to Dax's desk, ready to tear him a new one, but he was already packing his stuff into a box. He said he had a family emergency. A total lie, obviously. A week later, he came back to the office, but he avoided me. He was just different, quiet. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, he walked up to my desk. He looked tired, but he had this weirdly calm look on his face. "Hey, Aurora," he said, "got a minute?" I figured this was it. The apology, the "you were right" speech. I leaned back in my chair, ready to be gracious about it. "I wanted to tell you in person," he started, his voice totally flat. "My project, Art Hub, it just got a grant from the City Arts Foundation." I just stared at him. A grant? That's not real money, that's a handout. A pity prize for a project that can't stand on its own 2 feet. All my frustration, all my wasted effort on him just boiled over. I didn't even think. The words just came out, dripping with a disappointment so profound it felt like a physical thing. "Oh, Dax," I sighed, and I actually shook my head. "A grant? God, is that what you need? A little pat on the head from a committee to feel like you're doing something worthwhile?" I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "This is what I've been trying to protect you from. This is a dead end." It's a feel-good distraction that will lead nowhere. I'm telling you this for your own good, Dax. Before you completely humiliate yourself, just stop, please. Just let it go. I thought that would be the final blow, the one that would finally make him see sense. I expected him to argue, to get defensive, maybe even to look crushed. Instead, he did nothing. He just looked at me, really looked at me for a long, silent moment, and in his eyes, I didn't see anger or sadness. I saw nothing. Just a quiet final closing of a door. He nodded once, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement. Okay, he said softly, I get it now. And then he just walked away. He handed in his resignation the next morning. It was on my desk when I came in from getting coffee. I was completely blindsided. I cornered him by the elevators, my heart pounding with this weird mix of fury and panic. What the hell is this, Dax? You're throwing everything away because I was honest with you, because I gave you one piece of tough feedback. He turned to face me, and the calm was still there. It was unnerving. It was like talking to a stranger. There was no heat, no anger, just this placid finality. You weren't wrong about everything, Aurora, he said, his voice even. You were right, I was naive. I felt a surge of relief, a little I told you so blooming in my chest. Exactly, so just retract the resignation, we can fix this. We can get back on track. No, he said, and he actually smiled, but it was a sad, tired smile that didn't reach his eyes. You don't get it? I was naive to think you were my mentor. But you weren't trying to help me build my dream. You were trying to force me to rebuild yours, to fix some mistake from your past. The elevator doors opened. I'm going to go make my own mistakes now. He stepped in, the doors slid shut, and that was it. I was in a daze for the rest of the day. I couldn't focus. It felt so unfair. So dramatic. I had done everything for him. Later that evening, the office was empty, and I was clearing some old files off the shared drive, trying to distract myself. That's when I saw a folder with his name on it. It was old, from his first few months at the company. Curiosity got the better of me. I clicked it. Inside, there was a single document. Project Art Hub Draft V0.1. It was an early, messy version of his proposal. It was full of typos and rambling sentences, nothing like the polished work he did later. It was almost embarrassingly earnest. I scrolled to the end, to the acknowledgements page he'd put at the back, probably for some school project version of this. It read, and finally, this project is dedicated to Aurora, who shows me every day how to turn a dream into a reality. My breath caught in my throat. Because right through the middle of that sentence, there was a thick black digital line, a strike through. He hadn't deleted it. He had just crossed it out. I checked the document's version history. The edit was made 2 days ago, right after our last conversation. It was a deliberate act, a final correction on what he had gotten so wrong about me. I just sat there in the silent office, staring at the screen, the cursor blinking on the other side of that black line, and I felt absolutely sick to my stomach. Life went on, you know. The office felt weirdly quiet without him for a few weeks, but then a new junior analyst was hired, another eager kid, and things just sort of returned to normal. I buried myself in my work. I told myself I was better off without the distraction, that Dax was a lost cause and I'd done all I could. I tried not to think about him. Then about 3 months later, I was scrolling through LinkedIn and I saw a post from Janice, our old boss. It was a link to a local news article, and her caption was just, so incredibly proud of this former team member. Wow. I clicked it. The headline was something like, Local App Art Hub creates viral buzz, secures second round of community funding. There was a picture of Dax standing in the middle of a crowded art gallery, and he was beaming. He was surrounded by people, all of them laughing, holding drinks. He looked happy, he looked confident, he looked nothing like the timid kid I'd taken under my wing. The article talked about how the app had become the essential platform for the city's independent art scene, how its non-commercial, community-first approach was its biggest strength. They quoted a local gallery owner who called Dax a visionary. A visionary, he had done it not my way, not the smart way. He had done it his way, and he had succeeded. All those warnings I gave him, all that tough love I dished out to save him from failure, it was all wrong. He succeeded not just without my help, but by actively ignoring everything I told him to do. I just sat there staring at my phone, staring at the picture of him smiling, and it hit me, this cold, heavy realization. I wasn't his mentor, I wasn't his guide. I was just the first obstacle he had to overcome. In the story of his success, I wasn't even a footnote. I was just the person who was wrong. And looking at him, so obviously thriving, it was clear he hadn't thought about me once. I was completely and utterly irrelevant.